Hello and welcome to Thangka number 11. So in this Thangka, Tsongkhapa is age 42 to 49. The main events that happen in this Thangka, about 5, he for the first time he goes to Reting. It's one valley near Lhasa that's renowned as a place where the Kadampa masters of the past, many of them lived and did a lot of meditation retreat and received and gave teachings in that area. So he goes there, and this is where Tsongkhapa writes one of the most important treatises of all of his works. He composes there. He teaches extensively on calm abiding, and then he gives an extensive teaching on the Vinaya to a big audience of monks. Then he actually composes one of his greatest works. It's called the Great Treatise on the Stages of the Path to Enlightenment. And he accepts the request to compose a great treatise on the stages of Tantra. Right? So these are the major events. So looking at the Thangka, we start again at 6 o'clock, directly down at the bottom. At the very bottom, you see Tsongkhapa and a group of other monks together with Rendawa. They're walking, right? So they're going from Lhasa area to the Reting Valley, and then going around clockwise. Tsongkhapa, together with Rendawa and a group of other scholars of the time, they give teachings on Maitreya's discrimination of the middle way and the extremes, and the ornament for Mahayana Sutras, and on Asanga's here levels. At this time, also Rendawa received teachings from Tsongkhapa on Nagarjuna's fundamental wisdom and Chandakirti's brilliant lamp. Then, so going around at about, say, 9 o'clock in the Thangka, so Tsongkhapa, together with a group of other scholars, Kyabchok Pel and Janchub Yeshe and Chenga Rinpoche, then he taught extensively on Vinaya, so monastic discipline, the vows of Buddhist monks and nuns, and then the sort of the size and shape of the different robes that they should have, the begging bowl, the staff, the articles they use, and then the different behaviors that monks and nuns should practice and those that they should abandon. And so with a group of probably several hundred, 600 or more monks, they lived together for, I think during the rains retreat in the summer, anyway, for several months, and they practiced all these subtle practices of Vinaya, which had largely died out in Tibet at that time. So remember in an earlier Thangka, Manjushri, at an earlier time, Manjushri had instructed Tsongkhapa that as a basis for realizing emptiness and generating other realizations on the path, he and his disciples and others needed to practice and keep purely all the vows and trainings of a Buddhist monk. So as part of that, and as part of sort of spreading again the pure practice of morality in Tibet, then Tsongkhapa and these other teachers, they gave extensive teachings on Vinaya, as well as on the middle way and pramana. Then the next major event is right at the top, again at 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock. Then Tsongkhapa returns to the Reting Valley. He builds a hermitage there. He stays there for about 2 years. And during this time, at the age of, I think, 43, Tsongkhapa composes, he's requested by some of his disciples to compose a work explaining the entire path of practice for one individual. What do you start with? You start with correctly relying on a spiritual friend or spiritual teacher, and then appreciating the value of this human rebirth, and then recognizing the impermanence, how this life doesn't last long. Death inevitably will come. When it will come is not certain, and there's not much time to practice Dharma. And at the time of death, only one's spiritual development, the development of one's mind, will be important, and so forth, on to the existence of the suffering in the lower realms, the existence of the three jewels of refuge, karma, law of cause and effect, understanding the Four Noble Truths, Buddha's first teaching, and the suffering of all of samsara, and then the path of practice to be free from samsara by practicing the three higher trainings, right? The higher training in morality, higher training in concentration, and higher training in wisdom. And then in addition to that, seeing that, being free from samsara for oneself is not enough, because there's countless other sentient beings, our family, our mother and father, our family and friends, who from life to life, from lifetime to lifetime, there's no sentient being who we cannot say has never been our mother or our father or a dear friend, or companion. So from life, so basically, even if we ourselves are free from the suffering of samsara, what about all the other sentient beings who've enabled us to enjoy every instance of happiness we've ever had? Isn't it unfair if we don't work for their welfare? So seeing this, then one strives to do whatever one possibly can in order to achieve the welfare of all sentient beings. So one sees that the best thing one can do is become fully enlightened, perfect every positive quality, and clear away all obstacles to knowing everything that's possible to know, in order that we can perfectly guide each and every sentient being on the path to liberation and enlightenment that is suitable for them. So so this is the last part of the path. So basically, Tsongkhapa composed this work explaining in detail all the stages of realization on the path to enlightenment, with special emphasis on how to achieve perfect meditative equipoise, because there are a lot of wrong views at that time in Tibet about that, and also the correct realization of emptiness. So almost half the work is about how to generate perfect meditative concentration, or shamatha, and also the view of emptiness, or the shunyata. So once Tsongkhapa composed this work, nothing like it had ever been composed before in Tibet, really. Of course, I mentioned yesterday, there's the great treatise on the stages of the teachings, but it's a much more difficult to access work. The way Tsongkhapa wrote this work, it's very easy to understand and easy to put into practice. So then many of his disciples, they took copies of this work and went to different regions of Tibet and taught it to others. Then the next major event is so looking down, going clockwise around the Thangka, right down to the bottom right-hand corner, there's an image of Manjushri with his flaming sword. Above, Tsongkhapa has a text in his hand and a stack of text behind him. So Manjushri instructed Tsongkhapa that in addition to writing this text explaining the stages of the path of practice according to sutra, it would be highly beneficial if he were to do the same according to tantra, explain all the 4 classes of tantra and the path of practice on the tantra vehicle. So some of Tsongkhapa's students requested Tsongkhapa, please compose a work on the path of secret mantra that explains how to practice the entire path of the 4 classes of tantra. So Tsongkhapa agreed to do this, but he saw that there were some obstacles to doing that. So before commencing on that work, he composed a sadhana related to Vajrabharava, the wrathful aspect of Manjushri, in order to clear away obstacles. A self-generation sadhana and also a fire puja sadhana. First he composed that, and then afterwards he composed this text on the path of Tantra. So that concludes Thangka number 11.